Hello, it's good to see you. We are back with the story, and we are moving on to part two. Now, part two is not as long as part one. Part two starts on page 565, and the total page count is 700. I'm looking like that's going to tell me anything. 780 or somewhere thereabouts. So it's not as long as the first half, but a lot happens in these pages. So let's get started. So now that we are at part two, we start over again with chapter 1, because it is kind of like a different story. Now, this is going to sound crazy, but when I got to this part, I had this very strong feeling, almost like Aiden, because I've known Aiden for 25 years. I first became aware of Aiden in 2000. I started writing River Road in April of 2000, and I became aware of Aiden not long before I sat down and actually put pen to paper and started writing it. So I've known Aiden for a long time, and Aiden wanted to tell you something. Aiden wanted to write you a letter, and he did. So the first part of part 2, chapter 1, is a letter to you from Aiden himself. See, he even signed it. He even signed it. So this is the only time Aiden ever actually speaks directly to you. But he wanted to say something to you about what's going on and what comes after this. So just keep this in mind. It's very short. Okay. So this is chapter 1 of part 2. Dear reader, I feel it necessary at this point to let you know that I had no intention of things turning out the way they did. My time with Liddy was supposed to be fun, a light-hearted holiday with my favorite person here on earth. I never meant to hurt her. I never meant for it to come to that. You'll read some things in the following section from Liddy's perspective, but as of the time I write this, she no longer has any memory of the events that she will relate to you. I couldn't go back and undo everything that Phaedra did, but I could at least spare Liddy the memory of it for now. As you read on, please remember that it was never my intention for things to go this way. I am so sorry. I just wanted to be with her. My best, Aiden Gervais. Chapter 2. I told him I was ready, and we left that room immediately after. I didn't feel the movement. It was more like watching one scene transfer to another in a movie. Everything was black. I couldn't see anything, but it wasn't scary at all. I could still feel Aiden's arms around me. He had a brief conversation with someone, but I could only hear his side of it, like he was on the phone. I heard him say, "We're going a different way," and I got the sense that concluded the conversation. "Going what different way?" I asked, and I felt him hug me a little tighter. We started to move. I couldn't tell how fast we were going or in what direction, but we were definitely moving. I asked him who he was talking to, and he said he was just making some arrangements. Wherever we were and wherever we were heading, I felt comfortable and warm and light. I didn't fully understand at that point that I'd left my body, but I felt incredibly light, like a balloon full of helium, like I could lift off and float away if I wanted to. I tried to look around as we were moving, but it was dark in every direction for the longest time. It could have been days, weeks, years. I didn't know. I'd lost all track of time. "It's so dark," I whispered. We flipped over. I felt like I was flying on my back. I can't think of a better way to describe it. I looked up and could see tiny pinpoints of light, like tiny holes punched in construction paper. Aiden told me to close my eyes, and I did. Something began stretching my body. I felt I was being gently pulled, like someone had a hold of my arms and legs. I felt a trembling, a vibration. It could have been me or the air around me. I don't know. I tensed up. Aiden's voice now seemed to come from directly in front of me or over me. "It's okay," he said. I felt him touch my face. I tried to relax. He sang softly, "Fly me to the moon. Let me play among the stars. and let me see what spring is like on a Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, baby, kiss me. His voice faded away, along with the sense of everything else around me. Liddy lay still with her head in Aiden's lap for quite a while. Aiden waited patiently. Without warning, she suddenly sat upright, gasping for breath and looking around the room wild-eyed. Aiden tried to embrace her, but she pushed his hands away. Liddy, it's me. Everything's... She stood up and looked around. What happened? Aiden stood up too. You're safe here, he said. No one's going to hurt you. Liddy squinted, then opened her eyes wide. What is this place? Why is it so empty in here? Why is it so bright? This is a waiting room, Aiden said. We keep it simple. Liddy heard a sound and looked out among the rows of white chairs. A man was sitting in one, arms folded, his feet flat on the floor. He snorted in disapproval. That's the understatement of the year, he said. Pipe down, Frank, Liddy heard a woman say. She turned around to see a lady sitting at a receptionist's desk, looking out at them through an open sliding glass window. Give her a minute and you can go back to complaining. Liddy gripped the cuffs of her shirt in her clenched fists. She looked at the lady a little closer. Wait a minute. I remember you. Ah. Liddy pointed at her and snapped her fingers a couple of times. You were in the room at the hospital, and then you left. That's Claire, Aiden said. Do you remember? You asked me if she was like me, and I said yes. Claire came out from behind the desk and approached Liddy slowly. How are you feeling? She asked. Weird, Liddy said, confused. Are we still at Moses Cone? No, Aiden said, reaching for her hand. Liddy moved away without noticing. Well, where am I then? Why am I here? Same reason we're all here, Frank said. You screwed up. Claire shushed him, but he stood up and shook his head. Nuh-uh. You can't keep telling me to be quiet. You, what's your name? Liddy Roberts. Okay, Liddy Roberts. I don't know what kind of person you were like on Earth, but you must not have been... Aiden approached Frank while he was talking. He placed his hand over Frank's mouth mid-sentence, and Frank fell silent. He slowly sat back down without saying another word. How much longer is he going to be here? Aiden asked Claire. Claire just smiled. Aiden let out a sigh of frustration. Liddy looked at Aiden and then at Frank. Hang on a minute, she said. I'm not... She put her hands over her mouth. Uh-oh, Claire whispered. Liddy started to hyperventilate. Aiden gently grasped her by the shoulders and walked her over to the nearest row of chairs, and they sat down. He rubbed her back and tried to comfort her. Claire approached and knelt in front of Liddy. Would you like a Garfield to hold? Aiden shook his head at her. I don't have it here, Claire continued, but when I get it back, you can hold it if you want to. Liddy glanced up at her. What about a Garfield? She said between gasps, seeming to calm down a bit due to the distraction. Oh, Claire said. You probably don't know about that. Aiden knows I like stuff from the 80s, so he brought me one of those plush Garfields with the suction cups on the feet. People used to stick them on the inside of their car windows, you know? It's really soft and cuddly except for the plastic suction cups. I normally keep it over there on the glass window. She pointed back towards the receptionist's desk. Thanks, Liddy said. She looked at Aiden. Where are we? She asked in a quiet, thin voice. Just tell her, Claire said gently. It never gets any easier. Aiden started to answer and then stopped himself. He looked at Liddy with a sad smile for a moment. We're home, he finally said. We, Liddy said. We're home? This isn't home. Not my home, anyway. She looked around. This is just a waiting room. It's nobody's home. The waiting room exists in the realm of our home, Aiden said. We always come back to a waiting room like this. It makes the transition easier. Transition? From what to what? Claire walked over and sat down on the other side of Liddy. From human, she said, back to one of us. Liddy looked back over at Aiden and then quickly stood up. No, she said, shaking her head and backing away a little. That's impossible. I'm a human being. You were, Aiden said, for a while. You will be again once this is all over with. Speaking of which, Claire said. Aiden held up his hand to stop her. I know, he said. Liddy, you're right. Everything you currently know revolves around your life as a human being. That's valid and correct. Liddy studied his face. What are you saying? Are you saying that I'm actually crazy? What? No, of course not. What do you mean? Then why are you talking about what I know about my life? Like there's something about it that I don't know. She sat down, leaned forward, and rubbed her face. I don't know what I'm saying, what I'm asking you. Claire touched her arm. Do you know where you are? She asked. Sitting in a waiting room, Liddy said, still rubbing her face. Yeah, but where is this waiting room located? Liddy sat back up and looked at Claire and then at Aiden. I'm in y'all's location. Where is that? Claire pressed. Say it. It's hell, Liddy said, her voice barely above a whisper. We're in hell. All of us. Do you really believe that? Aiden asked. I'm trying, Liddy said. I don't feel any different. I guess I expected the place to be on fire or something. It's not. Actually, it's a bit on the chilly side in here. Stop breathing, Claire said. Stop what? How can I do that? Claire shrugged. You just stop. Breathe out one last time and don't breathe in again. Okay, but... Liddy exhaled and waited. Hang on. I thought I'd feel the need to breathe, but I don't feel anything. Claire nodded a little. That's because you no longer need to. The body requires oxygen, but you don't have a body anymore, so there you go. Liddy squirmed in her seat. This feels weird. Can I just keep breathing? Yeah, Claire said. You'll stop eventually without even realizing it, but a lot of people choose to keep doing it for a little while when they first arrive. I just wanted to let you know that you don't have to. I'm a person, Liddy said firmly. People breathe. That's what I am. No, a strong, deep voice said. The three of them looked up to see a tall, slim figure standing in front of them. Aiden and Claire immediately stood and bowed. You're not a human. Liddy saw what appeared to be a man. Aiden and Claire continued standing. Excuse me, she said. The figure looked at Aiden. Don't you need to go back and tie up a few loose ends? Aiden bowed again. Yes, sir. Go. Aiden glanced at Liddy but didn't dare speak to her. He hated to leave without reassuring her first, but he had no choice. Claire caught Aiden's eye and gave him a fearful look just before he vanished. The figure looked at Claire. Get back to work. Claire bowed and walked quickly back to the receptionist's desk. Liddy sat there silently looking on, not sure what to do. You're early, the figure said. You're not supposed to be here. I'm sorry, I don't have an answer to that. He gazed at her. She looked down at her feet, unsure what to do with herself. The silence became unbearable, and she looked back up. I don't know why I'm here, or who you are, or what's going on, she said, frustrated. I can help, the figure said, extending a hand. Liddy stood up and shook his hand. Liddy Roberts, she said. The figure smiled. I know. Nice to see you again. My name is Lucifer. Chapter 4. Aiden returned to the hallway just outside of Liddy's hospital room. Only a few seconds had passed on Earth since he left with Liddy. He stood outside the open door for a moment and then stood up straight and walked in to face the scene inside. Phaedra was still lying on the floor. He picked up the pieces of Liddy's broken bracelet off the floor. He kissed each piece and laid them on Phaedra's chest. They won't hold you forever, he said, but they'll do for now. He turned to see Liddy's body on the bed and winced at the sight of it. What if, he said to himself as he ran his hands along the cuts on her arms, closing them up. He gently lifted the body. It was still warm. What if? What if? He stepped over Phaedra and carried the body down the hall to the closet where Denali had been stored previously. The corner where Denali had sat was cleared out just enough to place the body there on the floor, legs straight out, back up against the wall. Aidan produced a sheer, silky piece of fabric from his suit pocket and draped it over the body and blew several puffs of air over it. He looked the body and the fabric over carefully and then turned the closet light off and closed the door. He blew a puff of air onto the doorknob and it melted slightly, forming a misshapen blob. Back in Liddy's room down the hall, he tidied up the blood and damage with a wave of his hand. Phaedra was still on the floor. He looked down at her and frowned. We're coming back, he said, kicking slightly at her right leg, and vanished. Chapter 5. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Meeting the devil was the scariest, most bizarre thing I'd ever done in my human life up to that point. Satan, the dude you've heard about your whole life, the ultimate boogeyman. It was terrifying, and my first instinct was to run, but to where? I was in his domain. There was nowhere to go. I had no idea how I'd gotten there, so I certainly didn't know how to get back. I shook his hand when he offered it. It was warm and soft, which surprised me. I guess I was expecting something less pleasant, like maybe slime or thorns, scales, I don't know. It's okay, he said, probably picking up on my stress. You're not in trouble. You had nothing to do with this. With what? I asked. I still don't understand anything that's happened since... I looked down at my wrists. They were fine. This must be very scary and confusing, he said. Let's get out of here. I looked around. Claire glanced up at me for a second and then looked away. I never needed Aidan more than I did at that moment, and he wasn't there. Lucifer sent him away. I had no idea when he'd be back, if he was coming back at all. Lucifer opened a door to the left of the receptionist's desk and walked with me down a long, brightly lit hallway. I saw doors on both sides of the hall, each about 10 feet apart. My office is just down this way, he said as we walked. We stopped in front of a door that had a golden L on it. He opened the door and gestured for me to go in first. I know he's the Prince of Darkness, but his office was super cozy. Every other area, including the hallway, was so empty and sterile. His office was lovely. Shades of brown, burgundy, and mahogany everywhere. He had pretty pictures on the walls. I liked it. Have a seat. I saw a large desk to the left, and to the right was a nice little sitting area with a sofa and love seat and a large coffee table between them. He gestured to the sofa and then sat across from me on the love seat. It smells nice in here, I said, taking my seat. Like cinnamon. Thank you. I saw light shining down from the ceiling, and it highlighted his brown, wavy hair. His face was angular, kind of hard, but kind. This is not at all what I expected Beelzebub to look like. He had a GQ model look about him. He smiled at me. I'm not what you thought I'd be, am I? He asked. He's reading my mind, I thought, and then I freaked out a little bit because he could probably hear that too. Not exactly, I said. Is that a good thing? You're not as scary as I thought you'd be. Not yet, anyway, he said. I wasn't sure how to respond to that. I was just hoping he was joking. I thought you might prefer a bit of time to ask some questions, he said. No doubt you have plenty. I said, leaning forward and resting my elbows on my knees. I do. I don't know where to start. Take a moment. There's no rush. Something about his patience and kindness brought on a tremendous wave of emotion in me. I burst into tears. He handed me a tissue. I'm sorry, I said. It happens all the time. It's a rough thing to go through. You were only human. I was, I said. I am. You'll learn, or rather, you'll start to recall, the truth about who you really are in due time. Tell me the first thing that pops into your mind. Surprise, I said. Surprise of what sort? I'm just surprised by the way things look here, pretty much to the point that I don't believe it's real. I've always heard that hell was a scary, fiery place. I looked at him. You don't exactly look like the devil either. He gave me an odd smile. But I am. You are the devil. Oh, yeah. Devil. Yeah. Are you disappointed that you didn't find yourself engulfed in flames upon your arrival? Not really. So you're surprised, but not disappointed. Yes. What else comes to mind beyond surprise? Aiden, I wonder about the things he said to me right before we came here. What did he say to you? All sorts of stuff. He had to hurry because the good angel, Phaedra, she was trying to get to us. Or him. I don't know. Anyway, Aiden said that his heart beats just for me and that I've rescued him for thousands of years or something like that. It's all sort of a blur. Lucifer was nodding as I talked. I wasn't sure at that time if it was because the things I was saying were true or because he was just following along with what I was saying. He told me he loved me, I said. But you already knew that. You were just surprised to finally hear him say it, right? I blushed, or I felt like I did. He might have said or done a thing or two that would lead me to believe. He started laughing. A thing or two? I wasn't even there, and I know it was more obvious than that. If he was brave enough to do this out in the open, I would assume his gestures were pretty bold, too. So you're saying he meant all that? He wasn't just saying it to get me down here? Killing two birds with one stone is a possibility, too, he said. He was telling you how he felt and persuading you to take your own life. That's another question I have, I said, feeling more comfortable. Why did I have to do it? Aiden said he couldn't. It had to be me. Why is that? Angels aren't allowed to kill each other on Earth, he said. The only way he could get you back here and out of the situation you were in was for you to do it yourself. Why can angels kill humans on Earth but not each other? He shrugged. That's just the rules. Who made the rules? You? I agreed to them. Can you just... I looked around the room. Is Aiden coming back? He'll be back. Time doesn't pass here the way it does on Earth, though. We'll have to be patient. Is he okay? He's fine. He's just doing a little cleanup. What about the other angel, the Phaedra? Who is she? She's not one of us, he said. Not anymore. Or rather, we're not one of them. Aiden said she's one of the good angels. What was she doing there? She wasn't doing her job, that's for sure. I imagine she was there to make trouble for you and Aiden. What for, though? What did we ever do to her? Not we, he said. You. Me? I don't even know her. How the hell could I have done anything? Lucifer sat back a bit and looked at me. What? I said. You've stopped breathing. I consciously drew in a breath and let it out. It felt odd to do that, and I realized he was right. I placed my right hand on my chest. You won't feel anything, he said, and I didn't. This is scary, I said, sitting up straighter. I don't know. I feel like this should be going differently. Like if I'm really dead, there'd be a heavenly host of angels singing, dead relatives coming to greet you. Something like that. I raised my eyebrows. It'd be nice anyway. Your soul, at the core of everything, is not human. Your afterlife, so to speak, won't look like a human's afterlife. What would a human's afterlife look like? They're not all the same. It depends on whatever would be most comforting to that person most of the time. I try to accommodate those like you, too. That's why I brought you in here. He gestured to the room we were in, which I assumed was his office. I looked around and then back at him. What is all this? I asked, not sure what I meant by that. What are we doing? Okay, Lucifer said. Let me explain a few things. Basic truths of our universe, so to speak. The first thing you should know is there is a creator. That much should be obvious, and I know it's something you believed in throughout your human life. A creator, yeah, so God. We call it God, yes. So we have a creator. Millions of them, he said. We have only one of them here in the universe we call home. Other creators were given other universes to play with. So God, there are millions of them? He nodded. We have no idea how many exactly. Millions at least. I sat back, having a hard time dealing with it all. The enormity of the situation. Being dead, not being human, chatting with the devil himself. It all hit me like a freight train. I started hyperventilating even though I knew there was no need to breathe. Lucifer came around the coffee table and sat beside me. I know this is hard, he said. If it's any consolation, this happens to everyone in your situation. There's only so much I can do to make it easier. You're the devil, I said, as if I just realized it. I slid away from him and really looked at his face. You're really him. Yes, I am, he said. I can't do anything to change that. Just take a few deep breaths. I don't need to breathe anymore. That's true, but it might make you feel better. I'd like to point out that you've stopped blinking, too. I stopped myself and focused on my eyes. He was right. I no longer felt the need to blink. Isn't it nice? He asked. Isn't what nice? Not having to bother with that anymore. I never saw it as a bother. It's just something you do without thinking about it. Not anymore. I took a few deep breaths as he suggested, and even though I was aware at this point that breathing was unnecessary, it still made me feel better. Let's get back to the basic truths, he said. There is a creator. That was the first one that I mentioned. Second, the creator, God, is not infallible. He's not. You were taught throughout your life that he was, Lucifer said. That's not true. God is flawed, like you are, like I am, like everybody, angel or human. I thought about it for a minute. So, what does that mean for all of us? Not much, or a whole hell of a lot, depending on how you look at it. I don't understand. Do you believe your life would have necessarily turned out any differently if God were infallible? I have no way of knowing that, I said. Maybe my parents wouldn't have been killed in a car wreck. Maybe Uncle Dean would still be alive. Those things would have happened anyway. Why? He looked at me, a sad expression coming over his face. You needed to know what it felt like. What felt like? Pain, suffering, loss, the downside to human existence. You were given a life that would inflict a dose of pain that you wouldn't soon forget. But what for? Why would God do that to me? God didn't have anything to do with it. He sat back a bit and placed his hands in his lap. I did it. You? How could you do something like that? You can't create people. I didn't create people. I simply created a body and put you in it. A body. I felt sick. Did you create all the other stuff in my life too? Do you mean, did I design your life? I merely put you in a situation that would unfold in a somewhat tragic way. The events that took place would have occurred whether you were there or not. So my brother, Richard's life wouldn't have been any different, not in any meaningful way. Well, why was he there then? Why did God want him to suffer? It's not something God gave any thought to. Live long enough and tragedy will come your way. People die. Things happen. They always have and they always will. I felt very empty and sad all of a sudden, like I should cry, but no tears came. So my life didn't mean anything? I asked. Is that what you're saying? Oh no, not at all. I wanted you to get a taste of the human experience. I gave you some time off and hopefully a better idea of what life is like for them. A working vacation. He smiled a little bit. A holiday. What life is like for who? Humans in general or just the ones I know personally? Humans in general. He moved in a little closer and lowered his voice. Let's just say you needed a reminder. A reminder of what? The more you explain to me, the more confusing it gets. What's your name? My mind had gone blank. This is ridiculous. I know my name. What is it then? Roberts. Roberts. Yeah, Liddy Roberts. He chuckled. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. He held up his hands. Okay. I was just checking. So you're saying that I was put into a human body, put there by you to learn what it's like to be a human being? Yes. Because I needed a reminder. That's right. So what was I doing before that? Let me get back to the universal truths before we delve into that subject any further. I told you that God is real and that God is not infallible. Another thing that you need to know is that God's not here, I said out of nowhere. Lucifer looked a little surprised. That's right. God's not here. Can you elaborate on that? I don't even know where it came from, I said. I feel it, though. He's not here. Do you mean here is in hell or here is in the entire universe? I don't know. I just feel like he's gone. He's nowhere around here. I thought about it for a minute and then said, there are multiple gods. That's what you told me earlier. So our God, the one who created the universe we live in, he's gone somewhere else. I looked at Lucifer for some sort of response, but he just sat there grinning slightly. We don't know where he is, I said. Do we? No, we don't. How long has he been gone? Earth time? Thousands of years. Were you just left in charge of everything? He laughed. Not officially, no. That would have been too nice, but no. It's against the rules for me to truly be in control, at least for now. Am I right, though? And where am I getting this information? It's coming back to you, little by little. It's less stressful that way. Yes, you are correct. God was here, but he's elsewhere at the moment. Let's back up. Long ago, we were involved in a battle. To put it simply, I declared war on God. I gasped. That was real? You really did that? I did. You didn't win, did you? He laughed bitterly. No. That's why we are where we are and not where we used to be. I believed I'd make a better leader in this realm. God was always prone to wandering off to other gods' universes and leaving us on our own. And being his right-hand man, so to speak, I was left to deal with things until he returned. Over time, it became clear to me, and others too, that I could manage things here without his help. We decided to rebel and take over everything for ourselves. We who? I asked. My followers and me. We built up our army while God was gone, and when he returned, we challenged him to a battle for control of this universe. But it didn't go well. No. Every angel in heaven had to choose a side, my side or God's. No one was allowed to remain neutral. After everyone chose a side, it was simple. We battled until someone admitted defeat. He looked down. That was difficult. We lost a lot of great angels. My eyes widened. Angels can die? Not exactly. They're just banished. They're sent to a separate place on the very edge of our existence, but they're so spread out that they're even isolated from each other. They have to spend the rest of eternity completely alone, but God can't bring himself to terminate any of us, so that's where he sent those that died, in a way, during the battle. Well, how do you die then? I asked. Each time you're hit, it leaves a mark on your armor. God watched from above and pointed to the ones that he felt had been hit too many times, the ones that weren't good warriors. I couldn't help but notice that most of the ones he chose were on my side. Can they ever come back? I asked. Only if God brings them back. They were sent so far away that I lost sight of them. They're out there somewhere. I just don't know where. What happened after that? God created this place, and all my followers and I were sent here. Some time passed, and I asked God for a rematch. What would happen if you lost a second time? That remains to be seen. We're in the middle of that rematch right now. It's what now? How so? I explained to God that in my opinion the first battle wasn't fair. Angels on his side were given extra powers, and we were fighting on his turf. Well, that's unavoidable since he created everything here, but still, I asked that a new battlefield be created, one that no one was familiar with. Give us a goal, some sort of thing to try to achieve other than beating each other endlessly. No more hand-to-hand combat. God accepted my proposal. He said he'd create a whole new world with a new type of life on it, new animals. Our angels, mine and his, would compete for the souls of those new animals. Whichever side collects more wins. When do you know who won? How will you know when the game's over? Lucifer shrugged. God left, as I said. After he created the world and its inhabitants, all of the angels were sent there. The game began, and God grew bored with it pretty quickly. He left to go visit some of the other gods elsewhere, I believe. We have no way of communicating with him, and we have no way of knowing when he plans to return. Could he just stay gone? No, he always comes back. He's absent-minded, though. That's one of his flaws. He's also easily distracted, and he fights dirty, in my opinion. He held up a finger. Just my opinion, though. My guess is that he'll call it as soon as he returns. Whoever is ahead at that time will be the winner. What does the winner get? I asked. Winner takes all, he said with a smile. And the loser? It's up to the winner to decide the loser's fate. If you win, what would you do to God? He nodded toward the door. I'd probably just put him on receptionist duty. He hates being stuck in one place for very long. He grinned. It'd be torture. Chapter 6. It was a lot to take in. I cannot stress that enough. Every now and then throughout this conversation, I had these random holy shit moments where I'd freak out for a few seconds. Lucifer wasn't fazed by it and said several times that it happens to everybody in my situation. I asked him why he'd create a body and send an angel to Earth. He said earlier that he sent me there so I could get a better understanding of what humans go through, but I wondered if there might be other reasons to do it. I mentioned that God is absent-minded, he said. It was up to the two of us to decide separately how involved we wanted to be in this new contest. We could rule our angels with an iron fist. We could be completely hands-off or somewhere in between. God left, so I guess he's hands-off by default. As a result, his angels, some of them anyway, have decided to play the game by their own rules. I prefer to keep a close eye on my angels. When one needs a little education on a particular subject, I sometimes find it useful to have them go live as a human for a while. The reasons can vary. How many angels are there on Earth? I asked. At any given time, about 2,000, 800 or so of mine, and about 1,200 of God's. They come and go periodically, so that number fluctuates. Where do they go? God's angels can go back and forth from heaven, but they mostly stay on earth. From what I hear, they're afraid of being up in heaven in case God happens to return. They think he might not be too happy to come back and find him not working. My angels can come here, and then there's... He looked at me as if he expected me to say something. There's... I said. I wonder if the name of another place comes to mind. What was that place Aiden mentioned? The one with the ice skating? Oh, yeah. Galiate, I said. He gave me a satisfied smile. It's coming back to you. Oh, no, not that part anyway. Aiden told me about it. I had a thought and then a tiny panic attack. Maybe I wasn't supposed to let you know about that, like if it's a secret place. I hoped I hadn't just gotten Aiden in trouble. It's too late now, isn't it? He he said with a grin. Should I not have mentioned that place? No, it's okay. He leaned in and whispered, I already know about it. What sort of a place is it? Where is it? In a galaxy far, far away, he said, making a sweeping gesture with his hands. Literally? Yes, literally. It's another planet about as far away from Earth as you can get, and angels that need a break from their work sometimes choose to go there. It's quiet, and there's a large frozen lake. Perfect for ice skating, I said. Yes, it is, he pointed at me. You've been there. What, me? Yes, you. How? We move at the speed of thought, Lucifer said. We're not confined by the limits of space and time like humans. We can't go beyond the boundaries of this universe, but the rest of it is our own personal playground. I thought the angels were supposed to stay on Earth to play the game. That's true, but if anyone wants to take a little break and go somewhere, I don't see the harm in it. Maybe they just need to remove themselves from a situation to get their thoughts together or make a decision. It's fine with me if they go to another planet to do it. Aiden told me that we just think about a place, and then boom, we're there. We? I meant y'all. Aiden. You said we. I didn't mean we. I think you did. I looked away and self-consciously patted my hair, immediately noticing a change in its texture. My hand froze on the side of my head, and I looked at Lucifer wide-eyed. He just smiled. I grabbed some of my hair and pulled it around so I could see it. The first thing I noticed was that it was a lot longer. It looked like a wig, but after tugging on it and feeling my scalp, I realized that it wasn't. What is this? I said, running my fingers through my hair and shaking it for emphasis. What, your hair? That's the way it looks. No, I said. I looked at my hair again. My hair is blonde. Box blonde. Maybe I highlighted a little bit, but it's some shade of blonde anyway. Dark blonde, whatever. The hair, this hair that I have now, this is red hair. Dark red. That's correct. But it's not mine, I said, feeling helpless for some reason. It's not mine. Are you messing with me? The body that I put you in had blonde hair, Lucifer said. You do not. So is that like Aiden can look different on Earth when he wants to? Is it like that? No. Angels can change the way humans see them, but their appearance isn't a flesh and blood form. It's an illusion. Your body was real. I pulled more of my hair around over my shoulders. It's thicker, I said. My other hair is really fine. Like corn silk, he said. That's what my dad used to call it, I said. And my parents came to mind. My parents. He looked so serious when I said that. Do they know? I asked. They do. Oh, God, were they angels too? No, they were human. They lived a human existence and then went on to a human afterlife. It must have been hard for them to find out what I really am. I'm sure it was, but they got over it. Well, damn, I'm starting to think I didn't matter to anybody on Earth. Oh, what? She's an agent of Satan? That sucks. Anyway, Lucifer laughed, but I wasn't trying to be funny. Talk about a blow to your ego. Of course you mattered, he said, patting my arm. But time marches on. We all have to deal with bad things, but at some point we have to move past it. Just be happy that the people you love have been able to do that. So they all went to heaven. By all, do you mean your immediate family? I guess. Is there a reason to differentiate? I'm just making sure I understand you. Yes, my immediate family. My parents, Grandma, and Uncle Dean. Well, none of them came here. Oh, good. So they're in heaven. Well, I can't guarantee that they are. I can assure you that they're not here, though. Well, where else could they have gone? We do have a purgatory of sorts. It's for souls who have a conflict or their case is awaiting review. I don't have access to that area or any of its records. Some of your family members could have ended up there for one reason or another, but I have no way of knowing if that actually happened. I thought about Uncle Dean. Would a suicide possibly cause somebody to go there? I asked. He looked at me with a soft sadness in his eyes. It's possible, he said, then sat up a little. Not definite, though. Maybe he made it through. Let's hope. So, what is it? This is another subject, but I do wonder about it. You're saying that there are aspects of this whole thing, this universe that God created, that you don't have access to and you have no control over. That's correct. You declared war on God for control of everything. If you had won, what would you have done about the stuff beyond your control? I'd have God's powers assigned to me. That was the hope, anyway. I'd punish him with receptionist duty for a while, and after that, I would propose that he go off to whatever other dimension he spends all his time in and leave this one to me. Who would assign the powers to you? God's creator, Lucifer said. Possibly. Then why? It just seems kind of ridiculous. Maybe not ridiculous. Foolhardy. That's better. It seems foolhardy to declare war on the one who actually controls everything, not knowing for sure what the outcome would be. Why would you do that? You did it too, he said. You were on my side, remember? No, I don't remember. Your speech, Lucifer said. My speech? What about it? He smiled and shook his head slightly. Never mind. Call it an act of desperation. I tried over and over to make God understand that we needed him here. Leaving everything up to me, but giving me no real authority, put a lot of pressure on me. Needless pressure. All I asked was that God stay and be a part of his creation. He repeatedly refused to do it. Finally, in a last-ditch attempt to get his attention, I did something drastic. I declared war. You declared war because you thought you'd do a better job of managing things. It's that two birds with one stone thing again, he said. Yes, I truly believed, and I still believe, that I could manage this universe better than its absent-minded creator. If I could get his attention through an unprecedented act, though, maybe he'd actually listen to me for once and stick around. He nodded at me. You know what it feels like to be abandoned. What? Your parents. Losing them so young was very traumatic for you. Oh, I thought about my mom and dad and how different life was before they died. It was hard. I was so lonely without them. Grandma and Grandpa stepped up, thank God, but yeah, nothing was ever the same once they were gone. That was me, Lucifer said. That's the position I was in. He looked away for a moment and then back at me. I wanted my dad back. I wanted him to stay so I wasn't alone all the time. Humans and angels aren't so different. We stomp and scream and yell, just hoping somebody will love us. He stood up and straightened his suit jacket. But even a big battle and the creation of a new world with new inhabitants, a new game, weren't enough to keep him here. He left again anyway. Makes you feel like you don't matter, I said, or you don't matter enough. Indeed it does. He took a seat again on the love seat across from me. I felt like Aiden didn't care, I said. What do you mean? He went for 13 years without visiting me even once. I felt something special between us way back in Dalton Fisher. Obviously, I had no idea it was anything like this. I gestured around the room, and Lucifer nodded. I definitely felt a connection to him, though. There were times I'd call out his name when I was alone, hoping he'd answer. I hoped I'd see him again, but no, nothing. 13 years of nothing. How can you say you love somebody that you can forget about for so long? Lucifer leaned forward and looked at me. He never forgot about you, he said. He was just doing what he was told. How so? Look here, he said, pointing to his left. I saw an image of Aiden and Lucifer standing there in the office facing each other. It was like an image from a projector, but much clearer and more defined, like you could reach out and touch them. Like a hologram, maybe. The images began to move. I could see Lucifer's face in the image. He appeared to be angry, and he was yelling. "What is this?" I asked. "I can't hear anything. Is this real?" "This was my meeting with Aiden after I found out he'd lured your brother into that church. I knew what his plan was. You have to think long term when you do what we do. We had a similar meeting after I found out you were a part of the church." "Why?" I asked, still watching the images. I couldn't take my eyes off Aiden. He's normally so cool and composed. To see him cower like that really shook me up. "That wasn't supposed to happen," Lucifer said. "You and your brother were never meant to be a part of that. Aiden is the one who orchestrated that behind my back." "So he got in trouble?" Lucifer laughed bitterly. "You could say that." "But Richard was a member of the church for years," I said. "I wasn't there anywhere near as long as he was. Why would Aiden go to all that trouble just to hang out with me for a few months?" "He missed you. He wanted you up there with him. He said that your membership in the church would help you learn what you were sent on earth to learn, so I allowed it to continue against my better judgment." "What was I on earth to learn?" "We'll discuss it later." I was still watching the images. Aiden didn't appear to put up too much of a fight. He mostly just stood there and took his scolding. "He stayed away from you for most of your young life," Lucifer said. "I guess he couldn't stand it anymore." "He put up with this just to hang out with me," I said, gesturing to the images. "Just to have me around. He did. Watch this." The image faded away, and I saw a new scene appear. It was me lying in bed in the dark alone. All I could see was my face. It looked like I had been crying. "When was this?" I asked. "About 3 years ago." "But what—" "Keep watching." I heard myself whisper Aiden's name, and he appeared beside the bed. My back was to him. He looked down at me and stroked my hair. The scene changed again. I saw myself sitting on the back porch of my grandparents' house, visibly younger, smoking a cigarette and writing in a notebook. "Do you recognize that?" Lucifer asked. "It's Grandma and Grandpa's house," I said. "What are you doing?" "Sucking on a cancer stick, and I think that's the story about the church I'm working on. Look over there." The scene panned out, and I saw Aiden sitting on a bench nearby. He had his feet up on the bench, and he was hugging his knees to the chest. He sat there just watching me. "He was there," I whispered with a smile. "Every chance he got," Lucifer said. "No matter how many times he was told to stay away, no matter how many times he was punished, it didn't matter." The scene changed and changed again and again, hundreds of times in rapid succession. I caught glimpses of Aiden with me at a conference, waiting in line in the grocery store, laughing at a movie, so many different places and times. "I was furious with him," Lucifer said. "Nothing I did or said made any difference. Then to find him sitting in my waiting room with you?" He rubbed his temples. "I've never seen anything like it." "He's been with me all this time," I said. "He has, no matter what. He loves me more than you could know." We heard a knock at the door. Lucifer looked at me. "Come in," he said, still holding my gaze. The door opened, and Aiden tentatively stepped into the office. I got up, ran to him, and kissed him before he could say a word. And we're going to stop there. So that is the end of chapter 7 in part 2. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope you enjoyed this little segment of the story. And thank you so much for being here. I'll see you again soon.